Welcome to our webinar, Optimizing Product Features and Pricing Using Conjoint Analysis. This webinar is hosted by Sawtooth Software, #1 in Choice Analytics. Sawtooth Software's president, Brian Orm, will be presenting this 45-minute session. Let's give another minute or two for others to arrive before we begin.
Thank you for that introduction, Christina. Christina is hosting this webinar, and she is the manager of our Client Services Division. She's been with us for a little over 5 years. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking about optimizing product features and pricing using conjoint or choice experiments. This is going to be an introductory session, should last around 45 minutes. I'm going to be introducing conjoint analysis, talking about the value of conjoint analysis for predicting and optimizing features and pricing for services and products. Again, I'm Brian Orm, president of Sawtooth Software. I've been here for over 25 years, and I have about 30 years of experience in analytics, most of it focusing on conjoint analysis, also known as choice experiments. I'm also the author of Getting Started with Conjoint Analysis. Sawtooth Software is the leading platform for product optimization and pricing. I think most of you have heard of our brand name before. We've been around for over 30 years, and if you were to talk to any leading academics or researchers out there that know about the conjoint analysis field, they will tell you that Sawtooth Software is the most respected, the most widely used platform in the world for this. It is a do-it-yourself platform. We want to empower you to be able to use our software to make these experiments, to program these surveys, and to be able to do the analysis yourself. But we also have a supporting cast here at Sawtooth Software, both in our technical support team and also in our paid services, our Sawtooth Analytics, if you needed any additional help. A few of our customers I've shown here on the screen. This was up on our website for a while. We have many, many more customers than this, but this just gives you an idea of some of the people that use Sawtooth Software for optimizing products and pricing today. In terms of optimizing your product, the big questions are, what do your customers want? What's important to them? And how much would people pay? But traditional market research questions often just haven't done a very good job at doing this. And this is where and why conjoint analysis choice experiments have excelled over the last few decades. It's rather myopic at a firm to just think that the engineers, managers, and execs should decide what to build or offer and how to price it. That sometimes works out if you're lucky, but most firms develop more sophistication, regularly get the voice of the customer involved, using a sophisticated tool such as conjoint analysis for asking the right kinds of questions in market research surveys. The typical types of market research surveys that use 5-point rating scales, asking about what's important to people, these don't work very well because typically respondents will give you a lot of top box ratings, a lot of 5s, a few 4s. They'll tell you everything's important. And depending upon the cultural background and educational background and just the personality of each individual, you can have a lot of scale use bias. Some people tend to use the upper part of the scale, some people the middle part of the scale, and it's more due to their personality and their background as opposed to what's really going on in their heads. And that's another fly in the ointment that makes it difficult to use 5-point rating scales reliably, especially across cultural research. Qualitative does have its place. We believe that initially you should be doing qualitative focus groups. That's a good start. Scraping open-end content, also a good start. There's lots of opportunities for you to learn about what language your customers use to describe the products, because you're going to want to use that language in terms of developing the attributes and levels that go into your conjoint analysis survey. Now, with conjoint analysis, we're not just limited to A/B testing. It's really A to gazillion, if you will, testing. Because with conjoint analysis, we're going to be showing products or services to buyers similar to how they see them in the real world, and we're going to ask them which ones they would choose. We're going to show hundreds or thousands of realistic looking products and pricing combinations across people. Not every respondent is going to see hundreds of thousands of them, of course. Each respondent is going to see dozens of them. But across respondents, we'll have the opportunity to investigate essentially a gazillion possible combinations of your products and features. Here's an example to motivate and to explain what I mean by that. Let's imagine that we are talking about automobiles, and there's various brand make models of automobiles like Chevy Camaro and Ford Mustang, and there might be a handful of others or a dozen others that we're testing in this experiment. But in this question, we're only showing 2 at a time. Those cars can be red or blue. So each one of these rows is an attribute. And these little bits of information, whether it's red or blue, these are levels. So conjoint analysis takes a product or service, and you need to break it down into its attributes and levels, and we vary them as we show them to respondents. This is just the first of 8 questions that we intend to ask this respondent. And in each one of these questions, we're going to scramble up in a scientific way, in a balanced experiment, we're going to scramble up, and the Chevy Camaro is shown in red here, but the next question might show the Chevy Camaro in blue. The Chevy Camaro is $32,000 here, but maybe in the next question it's $28,000. And by showing realistic situations to people and asking which they would choose, and by varying the features and levels systematically and scientifically so it's a balanced, fair experiment, we can tease out statistically which features appear to be driving people's choice and how important each of those attributes or features are. Are people choosing because of the color? Are people choosing because of the price? Are people choosing because of the brand name? Our choice experiment, our conjoint analysis experiment, will reveal that, and each respondent is different. So, to give you an introduction to how this works, I'd like to invite each of you to visit with me if you'd like. You can visit this website, or you can just watch along as I take this survey. So I have put into my browser, sawtoothsoftware.com/baseball. You can either type that, or you can click this QR code with your camera on your phone, and it will take us to this website. Let me go back one more time in case you wanted to catch that QR code and wanted to fill out the survey with me. It's not very hard, but if you just want to watch, that's just fine too. So here we are at sawtoothsoftware.com/baseball. It introduces the situation that we're all pretending that we're going to be at a baseball game, and we're just going to be using simple counting analysis. That's what I love about this illustration, is it shows conjoint analysis with very simple math. In this first screen, it invites us, if we were in a classroom situation and you had a group and you wanted everybody's results to be grouped together at the end when we show people's results to the survey, we could type in a group name, but we're not going to do that today. We're just going to go ahead and click the next button so that it just shows our results singly for ourselves rather than for summarizing for a group. So we're going to imagine that we're at an evening baseball game, and the game is almost over, and we're hungry, and we decide to leave our seat to buy some dinner. So maybe we're in the 7th inning or so. Now, there's 6 different food choices in this, in the kiosks or in the stands that we can visit, and the lines are different length, and the prices vary, and we're in the middle of our baseball game, and we're hungry. So here's the first conjoint question, task 1 of 9. And if these prices and wait times were involved, which option would you choose? And so I look at these and I say, okay, I can have any of these 6 options, or I can pick none. I wouldn't choose any of these. We often like to include a none so that we don't force people to choose something that they wouldn't buy in the real world. And I'd look at this and I'd say, you know, this pizza slice, I'm kind of an impatient person. I don't want to wait a long time. There's not very many people in line. It's only $6 for the pizza slice. I'm going to go ahead and select that one. So that's the first of my 9 questions. Now, it says, thanks for the response. We're going to change the wait times and prices and ask you to make another choice. We're going to repeat it 8 more times with different wait times and prices. We're asking multiple scenarios similar to the one you just answered to get a sense for how you make decisions under this topic under different conditions. Hope you find this challenging but fun, but things are going to be changing now. Okay, I click next. Now it's a different situation. The pizza slice is no longer $6 and it's no longer one person wait in line. And I look across this and I say, you know, I'm kind of a clam chowder guy, and so I think I might want to do that one. And I click next. And then the next question comes up, and the crabs, I'm a big crab fan, and this looks really good. It's $6 for a crab sandwich, really quick wait time. I think I'm going to go ahead and buy that one. And now I'm looking at it, and although the hot dog is cheap and only one person in line, I'm just not in the mood for a hot dog today. So I'm probably just going to pick none of those. And then I go on to the next one. Garlic fries are pretty interesting, and I'm impatient, and it's only $8.50 as opposed to $11. $11 would be way too much to spend for garlic fries, et cetera, et cetera. And I just keep on choosing. And I might get to this one and say, you know, I just don't like any of those options. Actually, let's go ahead and pick the pizza slice. That's not so bad. I can wait for 3 minutes. And then I'm almost done. Just 3 more questions. I'm going to get the clam chowder again. I'm going to, no, the pizza's too expensive. Garlic fries. Yeah, I'm going to get the crab sandwich. Not bad at $8.50. Blah, blah, blah. Garlic fries. There it is, $6, quick wait time. That should be my last question. And some of you perhaps have been taking this along with me, and then perhaps my commentary has been distracting to you, but I'm going to give you guys another 20 seconds to finish your own surveys. And I'm going to click the next button while I wait for you. The next screens on this website, and this isn't exactly how Sawtooth Software works in the analysis. Our analysis is much more sophisticated. More options, a better looking interface than what I'm going to show today here. But this is just a programmed version of a conjoint analysis survey on a website with full counting analysis to give you a simple illustration of how it works, an intuitive description of how it works. So this counting analysis is first going to count for our personal choices, what I chose, and then it's going to summarize for everybody who's taken the survey on this website what they chose. Here are my personal results. And if you did your survey yourself and you've clicked onto this screen, your numbers, your counts are for your choices to the 9 questions, okay? Here's how many times I picked each of the options. I never picked garden salad and I never picked hot dog. And one of the times I picked none, and that's why they don't add to 9. They add to 8 because I picked none one time. You can see that I'm really favoring in my choices when it's a lightweight time, and I'm favoring lower prices. You can also do 2-way counts, and that is every time that each food choice appeared at each price, what % of the time or how many times did I pick it? Okay, you can see I only picked pizza when it was cheap at $6, but I was picking crab sandwich and garlic fries and clam chowder at $6 or $8.50, and I never picked anything at $11. Now you can imagine if I have thousands of respondents answering, that I can be able to get a good summary of demand curves for across respondents with hundreds or thousands of respondents, and we're going to get that in a moment. Here they are. 3,142 people have taken the survey to this point. And across these 3,000 people, and by the way, you don't typically need 3,000 respondents in your conjoint analysis studies. Typically, we'll do between 200 and 800 respondents. You could see that the most popular choice has been pizza slice. And we can isolate just looking at the food items, and we can isolate just looking at wait time because it was a fair and balanced experiment. Each food item appeared an equal number of times at each wait time and an equal number of times at each price, such that we can isolate and tease out the main effect or the independent effect of food items, wait time, and price upon people's choices. And you can see that as wait times go down, people like it better, and as prices go down, people like it better. And our 2-way counts shows us for each food choice how many times it was picked at each price. Those of you who've taken economics recognize that this gives us the opportunity to plot what are called demand curves for each of these food items. I'm going to click the next button. This next page just shows us the previous numbers, but in a graphical form, in a chart form. And I want to focus on the two-way counts, the count totals for each of these food options at each of these prices. These are demand curves. Now, some of you took economics in school, and perhaps your economics teacher said, hey, we know demand curves must exist, but we really can't measure them very well. There aren't really techniques out there to do that. Maybe some of your professors said that these are just more theoretical constructs than really existing or being able to measure, than really being able to measure in reality. Well, conjoint analysis, a choice experiment like we just did, is a very fine way, a proven way over the decades to do a good job of measuring demand curves for potential offerings that you want to make. And this allows us to go in and optimize pricing and figure out what point on these curves will optimize profit or revenue for the firm, etc. You can see that the gray line here, for example, is the crab sandwich. Although it's not the most popular item overall, it does tend to have a lower price sensitivity, and perhaps it's because it's more of a highbrow item. People expect maybe to need to pay a little bit more for crab sandwich. It's going to be better than garlic fries. For example, when garlic fries goes up to $11, people prefer it not as much relative to the fall off in demand, which is the price elasticity, is quite dramatic for garlic fries or for some of these other things like pizza slice, especially. Its price elasticity of demand is very steep and relatively large. So that gives you a sense for how this works. But what's even better than just looking at demand curves is what the conjoint analysis does for you in terms of what's called the market simulator or the what if simulator. I'm going to show you that next. This is a rendition of a simple simulator in this website, but our software does a more sophisticated version of this. We have a desktop simulator, a web-based simulator, and our software can even write out simulators to Excel if you prefer to deliver Excel simulators as a spreadsheet. What a simulator does is it allows us to set up a competitive scenario where our products with their attribute levels and features are put into the scenario, and we can click the button to simulate, and it's like a voting machine. It queries each respondent and sees, based on each respondent's choices and the model that we fit to it, and typically we're fitting what's called a hierarchical Bayesian multinomial logistic regression. I know that's a mouthful of words, but handily the software manages that complexity for you. You don't need to be a statistician to use our software. Our techniques are robust. You follow the templates, you follow the guidelines, you follow the documentation, you're going to do just fine. Okay, let's imagine that we're not offering garden salad and we're not offering clam chowder. Let's imagine that at this baseball game, there's only 4 options. If the 4 options were available at, let's say crab sandwich had a 5-minute wait time and was expensive, and garlic fries, let's say it was a quick wait time and it was only $6, etc. We can formulate our scenario. We click simulate, and it queries each respondent's data very quickly and to see what they would vote for. The votes are tallied up and they sum to 100%. And if these were the options available, we know from our model and from the conjoint data that we collected for hundreds of respondents, in this case 3,000 some respondents, that 48% of the time people would be picking garlic fries, and only 2% of the time would people pick crab sandwich. Now, if we were the crab sandwich provider, we might say to ourselves, well, we're getting smacked here. How can we improve our share? Now we can do some what if analysis. We can say, well, what happens if we lower our price to $8.50? Let's imagine the competitors stay constant. Let's resimulate and see what happens. Now we can see that our share goes up from 2 to 5. What happens if we staff this better so that we have, on average, a lower wait time? Well, now if we click simulate, now our share goes up to 11%, et cetera, et cetera. And you can see how you could use a what-if simulator to be able to optimize your product offering and the price to be able to capture the target amount of share that makes sense. Now, at some point, you're going to be giving away too much revenue to capture share, and there's going to be a balance point at which you're not going to want to continue to lower the price, or you're not going to want to continue to improve the features like the wait time because it costs too much for you to do, et cetera, et cetera. That's our brief introduction to what conjoint analysis does. I hope this illustration gave you an intuitive sense for what the respondent does, how the questions appear to mimic the kinds of trade-offs people make in the real world, and how we can use the data to be able to predict people would do, what people would do, so that we can optimize features and prices. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the conjoint analysis example. And if any of you have questions and want to use the chat feature, Christina is monitoring chat, and so you can ask those questions. If we don't get to your question during the session, people will be able to follow up with you. I'm sure Brandon's team is going to follow up with you to ask if you have any follow-up questions, or if you want to see a tour of the software. And I'll talk more about getting a tour of the software at the end of this session. Now, what we do with conjoint analysis to optimize pricing is we don't ask respondents how much they'd be willing to pay for pizza, or how much they'd be willing to pay for garlic fries. Those kinds of questions are just not very realistic. They invite bargaining behavior. Conjoint analysis takes a more realistic approach of showing people prices and features and brands on the screen like they might see it on a website or in a store, and having them choose among those different product alternatives at varying prices and varying situations with varying colors and features, et cetera. We can study more than just 3 attributes. It's typical to study 6, 8, 10, 12 attributes at a time, more than just the 3 that we have here. So conjoint analysis can expand and get much more powerful than the simple example I've shown here today. We showed how you can use the market simulator, the what if simulator, in a manual way, one at a time. I changed the wait time, I clicked simulate. I changed the price, I clicked simulate. But a search optimization procedure will employ an algorithm and the speed of computers to let the computer do the heavy work to search for optimal characteristics for your brand, the optimal price, the optimal colors, the optimal features and performance, et cetera, to optimize share, revenue, or profits. You can set that up in the software. You can say, hey, I want to optimize revenue. Here are my competitors. Please search for the features and the prices that will allow me to optimize share, revenue, or profits. I want to talk to you about some examples in industry of how conjoint analysis is used for the next 5 or 10 minutes. The first case study that I'm going to talk about was delivered at a recent Sawtooth Software conference. So this was a talk at one of our conferences a couple years ago by Jennifer Avery of Universal Parks and Resorts. She talked about how they were using conjoint analysis to test different prices for tickets for special events that they were having at the Universal's park. And they also were using conjoint analysis for idea screening to identify great new ideas and features that might come up in new rides before they spent a lot of time and money drafting those up and planning them. The next example is Lifetime Products. Lifetime Products is a company out of here in Utah. Sawtooth Software is out of Utah, and Lifetime Products as well. They started out with tables and chairs in the upper left, but then they have, over the years, expanded their product offering line into things like sheds and basketball hoops and water sports like kayaks and paddle boards and so forth. Every step of the way over the last 8 or 10 years, Lifetime Products has been with Sawtooth Software and used Sawtooth Software's conjoint analysis tools to optimize the features, the colors, the prices, the textures, the look of these products. And Bob Goodwin from Lifetime Products has come out to the Sawtooth Software Conference multiple times to talk about their successes as they've used conjoint analysis to help them design these products for consumers. Procter Gamble has been a long-time Sawtooth Software customer for over 20 years now, and they've come out to the Sawtooth Software Conference on multiple occasions to talk about how they use conjoint analysis to optimize different products in the variety of product lines that they have. Specifically, they do use it in their detergents, in some of their fabric softener areas. David Hanghold from Procter & Gamble came out specifically to talk to us at the conference about how they're using conjoint analysis to help them optimize the package style, the colors, the graphics on the package, the product claims on the package, and also the pricing. Okay, so Sawtooth Software is used for a variety of ways. In a variety of ways, they particularly use conjoint analysis also for needs-based segmentation. If you have hundreds of respondents who have taken the survey, you can use the algorithms to find groups of respondents who are looking for specific features or specific low prices, etc. And you can use a segmentation solution to help design multiple products to appeal to multiple segments of the marketplace. Google uses conjoint analysis quite a bit too. Chris Chapman gave a presentation recently at the Sawtooth Software Conference in which he says, "We have taught an internal class to over 130 researchers, product managers, designers, and engineers who now use maximum difference scaling." Now, MaxDiff is a simplified version of conjoint analysis. It's very similar to conjoint. It's a Sawtooth Software application, but it deals with a single attribute, if you will, with a long list of features for product design or attribute importance, etc. It's very similar to CBC conjoint analysis, but think of it as a one attribute conjoint with lots of levels. Chris Chapman described how they use MaxDiff, but also use conjoint analysis in a variety of their applications, and are teaching classes to train up their internal analysts at Google about how to use Sawtooth Software tools. Now, the last example I want to talk to you about was a cell phone study in China. Fisher Liu at Diagate in China had a client, a Chinese manufacturer of cell phones, and they talked about this at the most recent Sawtooth Software Conference. Their client was a cell phone manufacturer looking to optimize their next offering versus the competition. The client was particularly interested in the trade-off between RAM and hard drive storage on these cell phones for this next line of cell phones in China that they were getting ready to release. And they wanted conjoint analysis to be able to help them optimize the right offering in terms of RAM, hard drive, and there were 12 other attributes involved, including price. So it was more than just a RAM hard drive storage trade-off, but that particular trade-off was of critical interest to the client. They used conjoint analysis and interviewed, I can't remember, it was something like 500 or 800 respondents to optimize the offering versus the competitor. They went ahead and used Conjoint's recommendation from the market simulator, from the optimization optimizer with the search algorithms, and they released, in the first column, it shows what the predicted relative market shares were for 3 products. The client wanted to create 2 products, product 1 and 2, and there was a key competitor. The predicted relative market shares are shown in the first column, 33, 21, and 46. The client went ahead and created these 2 products, released them, and 6 months later, they looked at sales data to get the actual relative market shares of their 2 products in their released product line versus the competitor. In this example, they came out dramatically similar, and conjoint analysis did an excellent job of guiding the client to create the right products to compete and to be successful in this marketplace. And the actual market shares were very, very similar to the predicted market shares that came out of the market simulator. When you have situations where the marketplace has full distribution of products, people have awareness of all the products, so it's more of kind of this marketplace that's fully developed. The predicted market shares that come out of the simulator often fairly closely match the real market shares. When you have situations where it's a new product of the world, where you're still trying to get awareness, for example, and you've got some concerns, some challenges to develop awareness, the predictions from the simulator will predict what your potential is if you get full distribution and full awareness out there in the marketplace. Let's talk a little bit more about Sawtooth Software users. Most of the users of Sawtooth Software products are consultancies. Some consultancies are large and some consultancies are just 1- and 2-person shops. We also have a lot of corporate researchers who are large enough or sophisticated enough to have a strategy department, an insights department, market research department, whatever it's called. And about 20% of our software packages are sold to these corporate researcher departments. Also, our software is widely used in academics, at universities, and in government. You don't need to be a statistician or a computer scientist to use our software. We've created a tool, a do-it-yourself tool, that if you have some background in analytics, at least an introductory course or two in statistics would be very, very good. And if you are quantitatively minded and have some experience in quantitative market research, you're going to be able to make this work. Sawtooth Software provides a complete solution for these types of studies, a complete solution for you to be able to get into conjoint analysis or maximum difference scaling with help from our expert technical support group that's led by Christina. We also have free hosting of surveys. So when you buy our package, if you use our standard shared hosting environment, we host your surveys for free. We don't charge you per survey or per respondent completion costs. Our website has endless resources, whether it's training videos, white papers, a forum where people can post questions and answer other people's questions, whether our workshops, and our next CBC workshop is coming up in January that I'm going to show you a plug for in a couple of slides, and also the Sawtooth Software conferences. We have a lot of resources to help you along the way. If you need help from our technical support group, they will help you. If you want to have additional higher level support through our paid consulting services, we can do that too. So we're getting ready to close up this webinar, and I want to talk to you about next steps. I want to invite you to schedule a 30 to 45-minute tour to show you how our software works. I haven't shown you the software today. I've shown you a website that gives an illustration that imitates the kind of look of a CBC questionnaire and imitates some simple kind of counting analysis. But there's a lot more that you can do with our software. Our software gives you a great path and a lot of, road to be able to drive in. You can use our software in a very limited way for simple conjoint experiments, or you can, if you get very sophisticated, will find that our tool will adapt to your sophistication, and there are a lot of power tricks that will get you very far. Brandon will follow up with you to schedule a 30 to 45-minute tour with us, and I recommend that you take them up on us. No strings attached, just spend some time with them. Get a 30-day free trial. We'll give you a 30-day free trial. Or Brandon told me that there's some special year-end offers. If you want to get into the software, there's some special year-end software offers that he can give you that are a little bit better than what are published on our website. The annual subscription for a Sawtooth software licensing, depending upon how many modules you get into, is typically about $4,000 to $11,000 per seat. Again, I said, hey, there's a lot of resources. There's a workshop coming up in Orlando, Florida at the Royal Pacific Hotel in Universal, Florida. I'm going to be there teaching. It's going to be a 3-day class. Look into that. That's on our website. Ask Brandon about that. That's another opportunity for you to get some additional instruction in a hands-on, just really personal experience. We're limiting that class to 25 people. Already 11 people have signed up. Thank you very much for your time. I think we've finished a little bit early. I doubt very many of you will shed a tear. Thank you very much for attending this. And with that, please look for the invitation from Brandon to be able to join them in a tour of our software. Thank you. Bye-bye.